That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 48 for today, Tuesday, December 22nd, 2015. I am your host, Dave Brown. It's Christmas week for those who celebrate such things, and hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever it is that y'all do this time of year. Hope it's safe and you guys stay well. It is, if I'm not mistaken, the winter solstice and the shortest day of the year, so that's kind of cool. It's also a day late for this show. Due to scheduling conflicts, I wasn't able to record a show yesterday, so I figured I'd do a quick one today. Now, I have not watched last night's Raw, so I'm not going to talk at all about that. I'll still save that for next week. On next week's show, we're also going to do some best of 2015 stuff. I'm going to do a Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, Most Improved Wrestler of the Year, Babyface of the Year, Heel of the Year, Double Cross of the Year, and Match of the Year. And I'm probably even going to do a top 10 matches of the year if I have a chance to really sit down and figure out, what my favorite matches of the year were. I know what my favorite match of the year is, and what two of my favorite matches of the year are, and ironically, they contain the same two people. So we'll get all to that. This week is going to be in a short, abbreviated episode. I have to get ready for work here in a little bit. It is very early in the morning on Tuesday. Apparently I'm losing my voice. But I did want to throw down some thoughts about Final Battle from Ring of Honor and NXT TakeOver London, and on last week's episode of Raw with the Roman Reigns winning the championship. So we'll jump right into that first. So last week's Raw, which ended up having a big rating, the return of Vince McMahon and the whole final part with Roman Reigns winning the title was really good. The whole show was excellent. The New Day did some great stuff. The Wyatt family match against the ECW guys was fantastic. And the only problem I have with the episode from last week was the fact that they did show a lot of replays of stuff, which is par for the course anymore, unfortunately. But in watching that match with Roman Reigns and seeing the way he was booked and his interaction with Vince McMahon, really, to me, just solidified the fact that this is how they need to book this guy. You don't book this guy as John Cena 2.0. If you're going to book him as anyone other than just Roman Reigns, you need to book him as Stone Cold Steve Austin, just to make him look like a badass, and that worked. The combination of him snapping and losing his shit after TLC, and then that match with Sheamus kicking out of the bro kick, which was a big deal, punching Vince McMahon, and the fact that he won over the crowd in Philadelphia in that same arena that in January took the biggest, wettest, sloppiest dump all over his face when he won the Royal Rumble. That's a big deal. That's telling. And I think we're going to see better things out of Roman. Hopefully, again, I haven't watched last night's Raw, so hopefully they won't, fuck up the booking with him, and book him better going forward, because that's what the poor guy needs. He doesn't need to be saying ridiculous, stupid shit that only John Cena can really get away with, and even not that much. He needs to just be kind of a silent badass, and hopefully they figure that out, because I know they've got a lot of money invested in this fool, and it would be a shame to screw him up. But if he can win over Philadelphia, then, man, they're doing something right. But let's talk about, actually, before we get into the couple of shows, there were a couple of news stories this week that I wanted to talk about. One that just broke the other day. Apparently, Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis are done with Ring of Honor. Their contracts are over. They finished their last shows over the weekend, said goodbye to their friends, and they are going to be TNA bound. That's the rumor, at least. My question, though, is, with all of the promotions out there, with all the promotions that are really kind of hot, TNA isn't one of them. So if you're not going to stay with Ring of Honor, why not, pursue something in New Japan more? Why not look at even Evolve, PWG? I mean, I'm sure TNA probably pays a little bit more, maybe. Hell, why not look at NXT? I think Mike Bennett would be great in NXT. In fact, both Mike Bennett and Matt Taven are two guys that I just had pretty low opinions of 6 months ago. And as watching their matches on Ring of Honor, I have really turned around. I really like those guys. And I think them coming in as a tag team to NXT would be fantastic. Now, if they do show up at TNA's first episode, which I guess is here in a few weeks on Pop TV, which I'll watch the first episode. I hate that 6-sided ring, but I'll check out that episode. It's a hell of a coup for them. I mean, Maria is a long-term name in wrestling. She had a long run in WWE. Mike Bennett is definitely an up-and-coming guy. Great talent, so good for TNA if that's true. I sit back and I think, why in the world would someone leave Ring of Honor for TNA other than money? And maybe they piss someone off in the back, who knows? But you think about the brands that are really hot right now in wrestling. You've got NXT, Lucha Underground, PWG, and Ring of Honor. Those are the ones that have a lot of buzz. So why leave one of those for a brand that's dying? I mean, I'm hoping TNA can turn things around. If they were smart, they would completely rebrand everything and just start over. But we'll see what happens. A couple other things. Speaking of PWG, High Spots announced a new network that they are launching, kind of a very almost WWE network type of thing. It's going to be the High Spots Wrestling Network. It's going to have PWG, PWX, CZW, and more. You're going to find it at highspotswrestlingnetwork.com. And it's going to be a streaming service. Here, I'll just read from this the news article, which I found at pwponderings.com. Highspots.com is launching a streaming service that will provide fans with PWG, PWX, CZW, shoot interviews, documentaries, and more. Check it out at highspotswrestlingnetwork.com. Expect PWP to possibly get an exclusive code for you to try out, blah, blah, blah. There's a 7-day trial and only $9.99 after that. And there's already 405 hours, over 400 hours of viewing uploaded on there. That's freaking awesome. I've been wanting for a long time someone to come along with a indie version of the WWE network, and maybe this is it. And High Spots does a lot of cool stuff, so yay. At some point when I get my money situated, I will be getting that. One other thing a couple other things. Angelico did an interview or on his podcast recently, says he turned down an offer from WWE to stay with Lucha Underground. I guess he and Jack Evans, who he tags with in AAA, and they also do some work together in PWG, were both offered, I guess, a deal with WWE, and they turned it down, which is, kind of a shame, because Angelico is freaking amazing. But I'm glad to see him staying in Lucha Underground. One final thing, WWE apparently has slightly acknowledged the existence of one Mr. Chris Benoit. And I actually wrote a piece about this, and it's real short, that's on the Around the Ring homepage, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. But they have finally acknowledged the existence of Chris Benoit in their book, celebrating 50 years of sports entertainment. There's a little picture of him explaining the situation with the suicide, and there was a picture of his WrestleMania 20 card, of saying, who was in the card and whatnot. And I think this is kind of an important deal. Chris Benoit did something horrible, and it's unforgivable. But his in-ring career was spectacular, and he was one of the greatest in-ring performers, I think, of all time. And he was a huge influence. His generation, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Dean Malenko, these guys had this huge influence on a lot of today's wrestlers. They were big influences on Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Dean Ambrose, all these guys. So the fact that the WWE is finally acknowledging Benoit is the right way to go. You can't just pretend it didn't happen, because that's just burying your head in the sand, and that's dumb. So kudos to WWE for just even a slight, tiny acknowledgement. So let's get into the two really freaking great shows from last week. We'll talk about NXT TakeOver first. NXT TakeOver London opened with Triple H doing an in-ring promo. I am disappointed that they use the white ropes whenever they're someplace other than Full Sail, but oh well. Triple H did acknowledge that he'd gotten his butt kicked just a few days before. The opening bout was Asuka versus Emma. Emma came down with Dana Brooke. Huge pop for Asuka. This crowd was insane the entire night. Just unbelievably insane. And the other thing I liked is they really do film NXT differently. It is a very distinct looking show. It's its own brand, and I as a fan, I appreciate that. Asuka, there were lots of Asuka's gonna kill you chants, and at one point they were chanting Asuka to the beat / theme of Olay, and this was probably the best match of the night. It was fantastic. It just reminds you of how good Emma really is. Asuka did eventually win with her spin kick of doom, damn near decapitated Emma with it. Great freaking match. We then had Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy with Carmella going against Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson for the tag team titles. Really great vignette for this match. Talked a lot about how Cass and Enzo have been there from the beginning, and just really nice vignette. And this crowd went buff-fucking-nanas for Cass and Enzo when they came out. They just went just fucking berserk, man. This was a really, really good tag team match. Sadly, Dash and Dawson retained. That was, I just thought, just silly. And it really deflated the crowd for a little bit. You could just hear you could feel it. The only thing I'm thinking is that Cass and Enzo are being called up to WWE soon, which, as much as I don't want to see them on Raw and SmackDown, they would be a great foil against the New Day, and that would be entertaining as all hell. There was a Nia Jax vignette, and then we had the Baron Corbin versus Apollo Crews match. Nice, decent little pop for Apollo Crews, but still the crowd was really deflated after that Cass and Enzo lost. One of the best moments in this match is Corbin had thrown Apollo Crews out of the ring, and Corbin was just talking so much trash through this match, and he yelled at Apollo Crews at one point, "You should have stayed in Ring of Honor," which I thought was pretty funny. Other than the fact that Apollo Crews didn't wrestle in Ring of Honor, he wrestled in Evolve and Dragon Gate and a few other places, but that's okay. it was probably... people have read into this. Maybe this is some kind of fuck you to Ring of Honor from WWE. I don't know if it's that. I just think it's Baron Corbin. Part of Corbin's character is the fact that he's like, I'm a badass. I didn't have to wrestle in independents and in small places for years to get here. I just gave him a call. So the fact that he would be mocking someone's time in an indie, that just goes along with his character. I doubt there's more to it than that. There was some good fuck you Corbin chants. That was pretty fun. And Corbin got the win with an end of days out of nowhere. I had a feeling Baron Corbin was going to win this match. They're really grooming him for moving up in the world, and Apollo Crews needed a loss, so that made sense. There was a Sami Zayn vignette, and he did a dark match after the event, and there's his in-ring promo after that is available all over the interwebs. It was just excellent. God love Sami Zayn. So glad to have him back. He was now right back in my favorite wrestlers list because he's no longer injured, so yay. There was a Nia Jax backstage interview, which was interrupted by Asuka, which was very nice. Asuka just walked up, and Nia was like, "What are you looking at?" And Asuka just stared at her. So I'm thinking that is going to be a program coming up soon. There's a Bayley vignette, which with some of the stuff we've seen from in Bayley vignettes before, but it's still good. We then had Nia Jax versus Bayley for the women's title. An obnoxious pop for Bayley. This crowd was so into this woman. It was just amazing. They were singing to her, serenading her. They never shut up the whole time. And apparently some people complained about this crowd, and I don't know if it's maybe Full Sail people who see this crowd and realize, wow, we met our match. I loved it, man. It added so much to it, the insanity of that crowd. And it's a different kind of crowd. It's in England. It's going to be different than a crowd here in the States. So I enjoyed it. A lot of fun. Bayley eventually did get the win with a guillotine choke. I loved this. It wasn't the best match in the world, but it told such a great story. And Bayley is so amazing. I mean, she might be my favorite wrestler right now. It's like I think her and Sami Zayn. Her, Sami Zayn, Adam Cole, Bebe, are my favorites right now. So, yeah, that was just incredible. And then we had a Finn Balor Samoa Joe vignette, which led right into the main event. Samoa Joe challenging Finn Balor for the NXT title. I loved Balor's Jack the Ripper entrance. I just thought that was great. Sure, the face paint itself wasn't really any different, but the jacket and the hat and the fact that the way he came to the ring physically was a bit different. I loved. They need to let him change up more and do different things with the painting and whatnot. But, this is a good first step. And, I mean, let's be honest. Finn Balor's been with NXT for maybe a year. Has it even been a year and a half? And he's only shown up in the whole paint thing 5, maybe 6 times. So let's not get our panties in the wad and start really complaining, oh, it's the same thing all the time. Get over it, people. This was a fun match. Tons of back and forth. And Balor got the win. He retained. I thought for sure that Samoa Joe was going to go over. Maybe they're going to call Joe up to the main roster, because they certainly need a badass heel to go against Roman Reigns. Maybe that happened last night. Who knows? But overall, I thought this was a very good show. Wasn't the best takeover, but the crowd was amazing. Sorry, I had to take a sip of water. And then we had Ring of Honor Final Battle, which was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Philly got a lot of wrestling love last week. in the 2300 arena, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the old ECW arena. Kevin Kelly and Mr. Wrestling number 3, otherwise known as a masked Steve Corino, on commentary. So good having Corino back. This show was fantastic. So the opening bout was the Young Bucks versus the All Night Express versus the Briscoes, number 1 contenders, triple threat tag team match. This was funny. Basically, all 3 of these teams are baby faces, really. This crowd loved the Young Bucks and loved the Briscoes, and were not happy when the All Night Express won. This was just, you can't even begin to describe this match because it was that much fun. I mean, you knew it was going to be a fucking spot fest with those 3 teams. But yeah, ANX got the win. Tons of fun. Silas Young with the boys faced Dalton Castle. Castle was super fucking over. And at one point he did this deadlift German suplex where Silas Young was standing on the apron. Castle reached over the top rope and then pulled Silas over the top rope and then into the German. It was... Dalton Castle's kind of a freak of nature, man. So let's see what happened. Young did get the win after pushing one of the boys into a Dalton Castle, basically into a punch from Dalton Castle, causing a distraction. Silas got in the mic and told Castle to admit that he's the last real man. And then he's like, okay, fine. If you won't admit it to me, you'll admit it to the boys. He got chairs out for the boys, and he tells the boys to attack Castle. And Castle's like, wait. He gets up. He's like, you are a man. You are a man. And he says, you're a foolish man if you ever thought the boys weren't with me this whole time. And the boys attack him with chairs. And the place goes just fucking apeshit. It was great. And he does his pose on the boys when they're in chair position. It was fantastic. I am guessing that's the end of that feud, but the boys are back, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. We then had Moose with Stokely Hathaway against Michael Elgin, and I'm guessing what was the number 1 contenders match? I mean, Elgin's already got a shot at the ROH title at Wrestle Kingdom next month in New Japan. So, and they kept bringing that up, but one thing that annoyed me in this show is they were doing those in the middle of the match replays that WWE does. Annoying as fuck. Every once in a while was one thing, but they were doing it constantly at some of these episodes, and it was just really annoying. Elgin did eventually get the win with a variation of Burning Hammer, though. So if you're not familiar with Burning Hammer, it's a great fucking move. It's basically doing a Death Valley driver, which is, but instead of having someone from a fireman's carry position, they're in a torture rack position. And from that position, you throw your opponent up and drop them on their head. Dangerous as all fuck. The guy who invented the move only did it like 7 times, and each time he did it, that I've seen, looked like he just killed some fool. The way that Michael Elgin does it is more along the lines of, it's basically an attitude adjustment, but instead of from a fireman's carry position, from a torture rack position, which I think is still a great move. I don't think calling it Burning Hammer is really works, but this match was really good. Tons of back and forth. A lot of show of respect afterwards. Elgin raised Moose's hand. Good match. We then had Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly. Oh, and they did vignettes before pretty much almost every match that were really good quality vignettes. Cole is super fucking over. And this was a good back and forth match. Cole snuck in a victory, but after the match, O'Reilly just attacked him and put him in armbar after armbar. I don't think this feud is anywhere near over. I got the feeling that this wasn't as good as it could have been. It was definitely a match setting the stages for stuff, but it was still a lot of fun. The Addiction and Chris Sabin then took on ACH, Matt Sydal, and Alex Shelley. Prince Nana was out on commentary. Shelley, ACH, and Sydal got the win. It was a really good match. A few botches during it, but I mean, what can you? These guys are all high flyers. It was a lot of fun. We then had Bobby Fish going against Roderick Strong for the TV title. This was a good match, but I almost get the feeling that Strong is about to turn heel. He's a heel in PWG. But so at one point, Bobby had him in a leg bar of some kind, and Roderick has his hand. He taps out on to Bobby's other leg, but the position he's in is there's no way the ref can see it. Bobby Fish jumps up, lets go of the hold. He's like, "Yeah, I won! Yeah, you tapped out! Woohoo!" And the ref is like, "What are you talking about, dude? You didn't tap out." And then basically, sorry, I forgot exactly how this went down. Roddy then hit him with a knee running and got the pin. So kind of sneaky. I don't know if turning Roderick Strong heel is a good idea at this point, but we'll see. The fact that the Kingdom is probably done with Michael Bennett and Maria Kanellis leaving, and Matt Taven got hurt in their match, which is coming up here in a second. Maybe they're going to set up Roderick Strong to team with what's his face? Adam Cole. Sorry, I forgot who they look kind of like they're doing in PWG, but I don't know. We then had Veda Scott and Cedric Alexander came out to cut a ringside promo, and the crowd was not a fan of Veda Scott. Very loud, shut the fuck up chants. We had the tag team title match, the War Machine versus the Kingdom. This was a very fast but very brutal match. Early on at some point, Matt Taven just injured his knee really bad, and War Machine got the win. I had a feeling they might, but I mean, it was apparently like a 3-minute match. Very fast. So after that match, Mr. Wrestling number 3 says he's going to leave because not two other people were going to come out in commentary, which were Nigel McGuinness and Jerry Lynn for the title match. After he leaves, BJ Whitmer shows up, which he's not even supposed to be in the building. He was banned from the building. And BJ Whitmer gets on. He's like, "I'm going to do commentary for this match." And Kevin Kelly's like, "No, you're not. You're not supposed to be here. Leave." It's like, "Oh, come on. Everyone knows that was Steve Corino. Come on." So the BJ Whitmer Steve Corino thing is definitely not over. I suspect they'll at some point Corino will pick someone to represent him in a match against either Whitmer or Adam Page, who knows. We then had the main event, AJ Styles versus Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor title. Like I mentioned, Nigel McGuinness and Jerry Lynn were on commentary. This was a fantastic match. Lethal retained the title, which was I think kind of a given. AJ's back is kind of hurt, and I think he's going to be taking some time off after Wrestle Kingdom, or he's going to be definitely slowing down in 2016 versus 2015. He has a nagging back injury. Lethal is already scheduled to defend the Ring of Honor title at Wrestle Kingdom, and at the same time, AJ is going to be challenging for the IWGP Intercontinental title. So it was a good match, though. Really good fucking match. And that was it. That was Final Battle. Both of these events were both Final Battle and TakeOver. God damn it, I can't think today. TakeOver were really, really good. If you have not seen either of them, go out of your way to find them. They're both excellent. And like I said, that's going to be it for this week. This is short and sweet, and I got to go get ready for work here pretty soon. So thank you guys for listening. Make sure to check us out on the social medias. Twitter and Facebook. The handle on both is Around the Ring OK. I am looking for a new co-host, so if anyone is interested, shoot me an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. My good friend Jason had some scheduling issues with his job, and so he had to bow out. And don't forget to check out our good friends over at WrestlingExpress.net. Michael and company over there do some great writing, so check that out. And that's going to do it for this week of Around the Ring, and we will be back next week with our end-of-the-year hoo-haws. And I hope everyone has a great and safe holidays, like I mentioned before. And as Jerry Springer always says, take care of yourself and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
That sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.